You don't have to know a lot of things in order to make a huge difference for the Lord in the world. But you do need to know a few things that are great and be willing to live for them and die for them.
Will I let Jesus prove to me that he's truly my strength? To let him prove inside of me that through him I can do all things.
The True Strength Life Podcast with Aaron Simpkins.
We're here. True Strength Life Podcast.
We certainly are.
I told you guys recently that I was going to be including in the podcast was going to be two regular monthly shows. One of them being the Ducati Report with the one and only
Evan Ducati.
Evan Ducati.
Crazy stuff.
Now, why it's called the Ducati Report is because he has a blog that he's been writing and working on for a while called the Ducati Report. So, naturally, when he agreed to do this show with me, I just said, all right, we'll call your segment the Ducati Report. And, well, first of all, how would you describe your blog? Like, what do you like to write about? What is it mainly?
On the main subtitle, it says religion and politics, and that pretty much covers it. It's that simple. A little bit of culture here and there. That's kind of like naturally baked into it, though.
You're right. So, all right. So, religion and politics. This is one of my brother-in-laws.
Wow. Nepo hire.
Young buck. He recently has joined the Space Force. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So, military man. And, yeah, maybe not that.
Now would be a perfect time to say that anything that comes out of my mouth is my opinion, not the military's opinion.
Don't hold them accountable, and military, don't fire him.
Yeah.
So, I will say, though, for being as young as you are, how old are you?
25.
20.
I'm 19.
So, well, you could pass for that mentally, but definitely not physically.
Not quite.
So, you will find out shortly, if you pay attention, or if you're still with us at this point, that he is very knowledgeable and well-versed on what he writes about. Religious topics and political topics. And so, this show is going to be based around that, probably more leaning towards the political side. Because I also kind of go to him to get a lot of political input myself, and so who better to talk that with than the person that I actually talk to. So that being said, he is definitely way more libertarian than I am.
For sure.
And that's okay. That'll probably come out.
I'm actually a libertarian, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm registered and everything.
Actually, like, has worked on campaigns and things like that. So
in the past, DOD.
We'll see, though. You follow along in the future years coming up. We'll see if I can get him to be like a conservative and not a libertarian. Although he is definitely conservative libertarian, if that makes any sense.
For sure.
So, Ducati Report. Go follow his blog. First of all, where can you find the blog?
Substack. You can download the app or just Google it. Type in the Ducati Report Substack, and it'll probably pop up.
Yep.
Not like a report about the Ducati sales from this quarter, which is also what pops up if you Google it. Yeah. Subscribe.
No, his is the good one.
Yeah.
So that being said, I will give him this one little shout out. This little, I'll give you the flex. You don't have to do it yourself. I have been told, I have thought this myself, but I have also been told by other people that you are one of the best writers they've ever come across. And this Actually, I think I texted you this last time it happened. This was said to me by somebody who himself has been considered a very good writer, from like college professors and things like that. So go follow his blog on Substack, and you might learn a thing or two, or find out another person that you don't like.
Or that.
So that being said, what have you covered recently in your blog? And we'll kind of just start the conversation there.
So, you just brought up college professors. That's the most recent thing that I wrote about. It's this idea that...
I didn't even know that, actually, because to be honest, I don't think I read that one.
Oh, wow. So you're like a fake fan? It's called Why Smart People Reject Christ.
Oh, no, I did read that one.
That one, yeah. So you know the subject matter.
Yep.
It's about how this modern idea that you have to be educated to be considered smart in our society, particularly American society, like you got to have all the degrees and stuff, and it's how people overthink things.
Yep.
And kind of go with consensus just because it happens to be consensus. Particularly with like science, religion, stuff
So
like
not
that.
everybody out there is a young Earth creationist?
Not quite.
Okay.
Not quite.
Dang. All right, I'm behind the eight ball.
Yeah. A little bit.
So, all right, give them a little bit from. I mean, you kind of just did, but what is?
I could read verbatim, but I can go freestyle here.
Yeah, you might want to actually think about that. Little
One day.
audio article podcast.
I'll think of it.
Yeah.
One day.
All right. So, all right. I'll start here. What made you come up with this? Like, why this specific thought?
Like the whole blog, or this?
Yeah, no, this article, this last.
I've
blog.
just so this is one that's been in the works for like 3 months ish. That's like on the long end of how long it'll take me to finish one, and it's been a thought kind of lingering in my head for a while because it gets brought up in like conservative media.
Yep.
And you know, because smart people skip college all the time. I mean, I did for now. You know what I mean?
So you think you're smart?
Yeah, for the most part,
Okay.
I would say. Leftism is obviously like not in favor of this idea. Modern leftism, in particular, they like, you know. Have you been on an American college campus recently? Probably not.
No.
Me neither. There's a guy on YouTube that's there all the time. He goes to like the Palestinian protests and stuff like that, and it's like the groupthink has taken over.
Yeah.
I think I put that exact word, groupthink.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of all encapsulating. Yeah, I'm really proud of that one.
I've watched a number of guys go to college campuses and talk to the students, which is it's always fun because it's like you said, groupthink is very predictable.
Mm-hmm.
They all in maybe using different words here and there, interchangeable words. They say the same thing.
Yeah.
They all have the same thoughts, and it's because that's all they've been fed their whole life, especially if they've gone to public school, and it's all they're being fed by their professors in the university. It's all the same. A lot. I almost said mostly, but a lot of it is garbage, and unfortunately, parents and students go into tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars debt for their kids' minds to be poisoned.
Correct.
Is basically how I think of college nowadays. I don't know if you agree with that, but
I would extend that to American public schools.
so here's the interesting thing with what he just said.
I'm a product of public school.
His whole career, he went to public school. I never did once. I was homeschooled up until 11th and 12th grade, and then I went to part-time homeschool, part-time Christian private school.
Straight up weird kid.
Weirdo, 100%. And then I went to the local community college part-time for like a year and a half, but really didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I don't have a college degree. After that, I never went back to college again. You did time in public school.
I did my time.
Anybody in Malibu's Most Wanted fan will get that. Shout out. So, you're a public school product.
I am.
You're now in the Space Force. I don't know how that's going to translate to whether or not you're going to do schooling there, but I'm sure that's going to be a much different experience than just straight up going to a regular college.
For sure.
So, in my hopes of this next administration,
Yeah.
by the time you get your career going and all in the military, a lot of the wokeness will be out. Hopefully.
Perhaps.
So then if you do schooling and your career, hopefully that experience will be much better. I hope. So
I hope a lot of things.
yeah. So with that being said, what was the last one? Unless you had any more thoughts on your last.
No,
blog.
we can move on.
Okay. What was a political blog you remember writing recently?
I was gonna make one about the election, and I got almost done, and then I didn't really like it, so I just kind of gave up and moved on.
Well,
I
there's
did
nothing
one-
to talk about with that.
Yeah, realistically,
Not,
there was one about Candace Owens a couple months ago, and her kind of weird. I guess you could call it a grift. I hate the word grift because it's like a very lefty thing to say. Like, oh, they're taking money to say that. That's always the excuse when someone has an opposing view, and I try not to fall into that, but I don't remember much of it, but the Candace Owens one was basically about her weird comments about Judaism. I don't know how.
You don't remember the specifics?
No,
of her
not really.
comments?
Not really. And like
Interesting.
in like who controls the system and that type of thing. And
Yeah.
naturally people go to Jews. So
I mean, I know that she was fired from Daily Wire because of that.
yeah.
But I don't remember the specific things that she
Well,
said.
that too. Like when she got fired, a bunch of her fans were like, the Jew fired him. Her. Yeah. Sorry, I just get things mixed up these days. You never really know.
It doesn't really matter nowadays. So
Yeah, not that matters. I mean, I say that as a black woman. Like I get.
that was pretty funny. So you're also 7'12".
Yeah. Almost 7-Eleven.
So stop there. So
We could talk about like Trump picks if you want.
switch
the subject a little bit.
because I'm gonna get in trouble.
Okay.
So Trump picks. Let's go down the list from what I can
Yeah.
remember. Well, you
As
start. I'll
a disclaimer, I'm very skeptical of this new Trump administration. I feel like it's just going to be more of the same. But I think we can start with the chief of staff pick. I don't know much about her, but from what I've listened to, what I've read, she seems kind of competent. Like like she can rally the
like
troops.
she actually might be able to do her job.
Yeah, that type of
Yeah.
thing, which was not common in the first Trump administration.
I think I agree.
Yeah.
I don't really know much about her. I didn't really look into her.
Mm-hmm.
But a few people that I follow basically said what you just said, that they liked her.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. I'm looking up his picks so far.
Oh wait,
Too soon?
too soon. Way too soon, man.
Let me see. Current. Keep going. You can keep talking. Who else?
Secretary of State is going to be Rubio, right?
I believe so.
I don't know about that one. He's been in the government for what, 10 plus years now? Not that that's like bad by default. I like to have substantive reasons, but he hasn't shown me that he's like not a neocon. And like that's part of the whole thing that like the Trump influencers are getting into. It's like, yeah, all the neocons are going to be gone. And then he's like, all right, actually, Marco Rubio. How's that sound, guys? I was kind of taken aback.
So I got the Rubio pick is interesting to me because, well, one because he, really just mainly because he's been a main opponent of Trump. In 2016, he was I think the third Republican left, and he didn't run in 24, but
People forget that he was supposed to be like the Republicans' golden boy
Yeah.
around like 2012.
yeah. because he also he hits a little bit of the diversity that everyone's telling him they need to have.
He's a pretty diverse person.
From what I know of him, I'm generally, I guess I'm more okay. I'm optimistic. I'm more okay with it than not okay. Because I remember, and now I'm going back to 2016. I remember 2016 primaries where in the beginning, I really liked him and Ben Carson.
Okay.
Just because I've always liked Ben Carson.
Not Chris Christie, or
So, Christie, he
not quite.
maybe third. No, not Christie.
Scott Walker.
So, it's funny. This picture's a little blurry, but it has a list of everybody. What about Mike Huckabee? Ambassador.
He was the governor of Arkansas or something. Ambassador to Israel is not really relevant to me.
Yeah, I think the fact that is being talked about is because it's him. He's a name.
This was already going to be a pretty pro-Israel administration
Yeah.
anyway, so that pick is not super intriguing to me.
I have there's very few people in politics that I think are genuine believers and genuine people.
Yeah. Like Christians, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I throw him in that category, Mike Huckabee.
Maybe. I don't know that much about him.
Let's see who else. Oh, the border czar guy,
Is it? Oh, it was the ice guy?
Tom Homan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only really know who he is because of that famous clip where he's talking to
AOC.
AOC. Yeah.
So what do you think of that?
This is a fun one because libertarians love to bicker about the border. I think that the no border crowd is a little bit insane. There's got to be some semblance so that people aren't just flooding in. Not that I don't think that there could be immigration reform, but I think this guy is probably better as a border czar than Kamala Harris was, just kind of by default.
Because remember, she was.
Yeah,
But then
of course.
she wasn't actually because she didn't do anything. But
What I don't like is the rumors that the military is going to be in the streets patrolling the border. Sounds a little freaky to me.
all right, well let's touch on that for a second.
Let's touch on the dystopian nature of that.
So I have a few things. I want there to be a strong border. I think you don't have a strong border, you don't have a strong country. If you don't have your house in order, then you can't expect anything but chaos to come from it.
It's like the Trump family.
That's why that
Go on.
that is a much better family than most political families. You have to admit that.
To be fair.
So what I mean is you can't, as a family, expect to keep bringing in people into your house to help them and to serve them if your own family is falling apart. And extend that to the country. It's probably not a perfect example, but I think it does apply a little bit, where our country in many ways is falling apart. And we have to get a lot of that under control before we can just say, hey, the floodgates are open still, and just come through.
Are you talking social fabric?
Sure. But so part
Mostly.
of this is what I'm not just saying, build a wall, shut them out. I'm not saying that. I do think we should build a wall, but I'm not saying build a wall so that nobody comes. I also think that a big part of this needs to be a full reform of how people can come in and become citizens legally. That has to be addressed drastically.
Go to a port of entry.
Well, yes.
That's kind of part of it.
No,
it's people just don't care.
No, that is a big part, and they should go to the places where they should be going to, the legal ports. But I'm saying once they go through that legal port, for them to actually become a citizen, it shouldn't be a decade until that happens.
Yeah.
It should be much, much shorter. It should be a lot less money. And then that helps the country because now you get another taxpayer. You know, you want to look at it from the government standpoint. They get another taxpayer. They're getting more money. And then we also don't have to worry about somebody who is here illegally and we may not know anything about. And that person can also start their life without, trying to feel like they have to look over their shoulder every 2 seconds because they know that now they're set up and they're good to go and they can do whatever they want here in the country to progress their situation.
That argument actually bolsters the whole just go to a port of entry thing, because a lot of these asylums, they say, the media, up in the press, Democrats, even Republicans to a certain extent, it's always talking about the asylum seekers. Mm-hmm. But the underlying reality is a lot of these people are just economic migrants, which is fine. Come in, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just that it's hard for me to believe that you're an asylum seeker if you're going through 4 other countries before you get to the United States, or you're coming from Africa.
Yeah.
That's not seeking asylum to me.
Describe a little more of the asylum seeker.
An asylum seeker is the concept of it is that you are fleeing your country because you expect that harm will be done to you, or there's anarchy or whatever, and the concept is you go to the next country. That's it. That's just the baseline.
Okay.
Apply for citizenship there. Go to the next country, apply there, and then maybe at some point you get to the U.S.
So with that being with that being the definition, what you're saying is all these people saying they're asylum seekers doesn't really make sense because they're coming from more than one country.
That's correct.
Country over.
That's statistically backed too. I'm not just saying that.
Yeah. So my whole thing is going back to the main point. I do want a border wall, but I'm fully for everybody coming here. Mm-hmm. I'm totally fine with that. But the system on the inside needs to improve a lot, and it needs to be done quicker. Okay. So that these people can then just start their lives. And I don't, with all the resources and everything we have, I just don't know how, I mean, obviously there's a whole lot about the situation I don't get.
Okay.
I understand.
A lot of us don't get it.
But it's hard for me to fathom all the money that we have, all the people we have, and we can't
print more.
Yeah. We can't set it up better so that a legit person who is really fleeing persecution and a horrible situation and just wants to better them and their family. Why does that person who does everything right, and we know some people who are like this, mm-hmm. who have come here legally,
yeah,
and them doing every step right, it still took 8 years for them to be a citizen. That's crazy.
I mean, I've seen that with pro athletes that are Mexican or something. And it's I got my citizenship today. I'm like, dude, you've been in the league for 8 years now.
Yeah, that's nuts, and that's somebody who has money.
Yeah, too.
That's insane. That is
like a genuinely well-off person.
That is a big part of the problem, and that also because that is a big part of why a lot of people will come here illegally, because they just don't want to deal with all that. Yeah. So they'll just whatever. I'll just be here and kind of float under the radar. Mm-hmm. But then that also goes to then we don't know who's here. So it's a big problem. Hopefully, this guy is good news, Tom Homan. The deportation is interesting. I
mean, it's not ambiguous what the plan is, right? The idea is the biggest deportation plan in history. So it's either you like it or you don't like it.
I'm okay with, as long as they're getting criminals first, and then only after that they're getting rid of people who aren't actively doing good things in society. What I don't want to happen, and what will cause the biggest uproar in the country, is if they go and just get rid of every single person that's not on the books, because a lot of those people who aren't on the books are going to be people who already have established families, right, and established careers that are years in the making in this country, and then all of a sudden you're just going to come and rip them out. Like that doesn't make sense to me. That's why to me, when I say like the path to citizenship needs to be better, because that's a part of it. I want those people who are already doing good things, already have a family, already, are not taking full advantage of the system like they could be.
Right.
They just want to come here and just work hard and do better. I want those people to continue that, but legally. I don't want them to just be kicked out and then have to start all over.
Okay.
I guess that's like, that would fall under, I hope it's done compassionately.
That's hard to write a law for. Because
Yes.
you said like, oh, and I understand that we're just like spitballing, but
Totally.
you can stay if you're doing good in society. Do you like write that in a bill? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like how do you word that, Yeah.
If you vote for my party, you can stay.
Yeah. Well, one side already does that, but I don't know. It's interesting. I hope that whole situation, the deportation situation, you like that?
Cool.
I'm a little nervous about it because of that, what I just explained. See, that's the weird part. It's necessary, but I'm cautiously optimistic of it.
I'm just a pessimistic person, so I really don't have high hopes.
Okay. Well, hey, we'll see what Mr. Borderzar could do.
Mr. Borderzar.
How about
What do we got?
how about Pete Hegseth?
Who's that? Secretary of something?
That is the I wish this picture wasn't blurry. I forget his official title. The
It's probably something that I want to abolish.
the defense secretary.
Is he from like some industry or whatever? I'm not familiar with him. Defense secretary is not an incredibly, I guess, political position. You know what I mean?
So
Like, there's not an incredible amount of things that aren't carried over from the previous admin.
okay. Well, all right, then I'll tell you this. What I have heard about him. So this guy, Pete Hegseth. One thing I will say, I do like the general wave of picks towards younger people. That seems to be a
Okay.
thing. I like that.
So, like, 75.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the younger people being put in positions. Pete Hegseth currently is a Fox News anchor.
You lost me.
I knew I would. So people think like, oh, what did you put this Fox News guy in? Who's he? What's he ever done? Well, he has degrees from Harvard and Princeton.
Degrees.
He has 20 plus years military experience.
Okay.
Doing, I believe it was 3 tours.
That's cool.
I think it was the Army and National Guard.
Oh, he's like Tim Walz.
And wears dope suits.
Okay.
The inside of the suits look like your shirt.
Abundantly qualified.
So he has awesome tattoos.
Okay.
And he's literally writing the book currently on how to get rid of wokeness in the military.
Okay.
And he's already said in this position that would be his main priority.
Besides sending trillions to Israel, or like...
We'll see. You got to take the good with the bad. All right. What I mean? So that's that guy.
Give me some names.
I think I generally like him. I'm going to save the best for last.
All right.
How about we'll go Tulsi Gabbard.
All right. What is she?
I'm looking at it right now. See, this picture I'm looking at, it has all the pics, but the names are blurry.
So my understanding is that Tulsi Gabbard is like a full-on Republican now.
She is.
Okay.
She did announce that she's joining the party.
Okay.
Can't even read
Wonder
her.
who paid her.
So this was that's funny. This is prep work I should have done.
Who needs that?
Tulsi Gabbard is... Keep talking.
Yap. Tulsi Gabbard's a weird one. I mean, I know she's former military too. She's anti-war to my understanding because she was in like the Bernie Sanders camp.
That's her main thing, is not keeping or starting wars.
Okay, I'm down with that. Will Trump start a war? Probably at some point. I mean, we got 4 more years to wait, so, and things are gonna kick off worldwide pretty soon, at least from my observations, just the current geopolitical climate. Things are gonna be popping off. That's another reason I'm like skeptical of this, the whole operation.
The whole Trump operation, like.
Yeah, like the whole Team Trump, all that. It's like nobody knows what they're doing. It's like Trump. It's because it's this whole, like, we're going through the pics right now. It's like, oh yeah, he's really cleaning the swamp this time. He was there before. He hired the wrong people, and now he's coming back. It's gonna be the greatest thing ever. And it's like he's still only gonna stick by people who praise him all the time.
One thing that I think of that is hopeful towards what he's doing is the fact that he's the diversity. Ready for this? The diversity in terms of political ideology. This seems like a very diverse cabinet because Tulsi, lifelong Democrat. Kennedy, we didn't even get to, lifelong Democrat. Elon Musk, lifelong Democrat. His VP was a never Trumper back in Trump's first administration.
People try and hold that against him too.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Vivek is not a politician up to this point. Never been a politician.
Never been smart.
And he's not a fan. And he's never he's always been conservative, but he was mainly libertarian most of his life.
Okay.
So that gives me hope that he is willing to pick people who they're not entrenched in always being these people.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I kind of get the vibe.
Plus, generally speaking, I like people who have gone out on a limb and have made choices and gone against people and gone against parties and situations who individually it doesn't favor them to do so. Because by doing that, they could just be censored. And they have been just censored,
sure.
Or they've been fired or kicked off the team. Like Tulsi in 2020, before 2020, she ran as a Democrat presidential candidate. She was one of the main people within the Democrat Party that was like the golden child. They literally put her in positions and over different councils and stuff as if like she was the next person. Like they were establishing her to
They were grooming her for sure.
Yeah, to be the Democrat representative. And so then all of a sudden the Democrat Party goes in a way that she can't support, and she actually stood up for it. She actually voiced like, "Hey, I'm not for this war."
I'll give her credit
but
for that.
You guys as a party are just going along with it, and you're going to be totally fine with starting World War III and implementing a draft,
right,
and having and you're also not only our people, American people, but you're also just okay with the wars happening and the continuous killing of hundreds of thousands of people in other countries. She's like, I want that to stop. So she went against everything, and it's helped her now because right. Now she's.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of. It's going to be hard for some people to give her credit because it's like politically advantageous for her now.
I mean, she was on a no-fly list because of that. they had positioned her as a domestic terrorist watch list because of she was saying things as a Democrat that the Democrats didn't want her to say.
Damn.
So everything I just said applies to Kennedy, applies to even Vance to a certain extent because of how anti-Trump he was. It applies to Elon Musk, who, like I said, has always been a Democrat.
I actually didn't know that.
So, again, I'm hopeful because these are people who have stood up and they've gone against the party narrative in a way that doesn't help them at all, except hurts them in the short term at least. In the long run, hopefully it's helped them and us because now they're in a position to actually do something good.
Right.
But we'll see. That's why I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the waiting game for now. It's kind of hard to evaluate.
Yeah. But with that, Kennedy.
He's just kind of a goofball to me.
All right. We need to have this talk. Why?
But there's like, we can do like the policy perspective. Oh yeah, he's got the Maha. That's how you say it, right?
Yes, Maha.
Yeah.
I interrupt you real quick.
Go ahead.
I was going into this election. I was as MAGA supportive as I was because of Maha, because of Kennedy joining the team. Because when Kennedy was running independent, I wasn't actually sure if I was going to vote for him or Trump. But then when he officially fully backed and Trump said that he would fully back Kennedy in terms of put Kennedy in a position to do what he wants to do, it was a no-brainer. To me, you got 2 for 1.
2 for, okay.
But now explain to me why you don't like him. Because I have heard this from many people, even though go ahead.
I mean, in general, I'm just not fond of banning stuff just because you're not a fan of it, even if it's unhealthy crap that we eat.
Okay,
and he said like insane things about the climate before.
I give him a break on the climate stuff because he's done with that. He's only dealing with health and nutrition.
So you think it was like a bit?
No, I'm just saying.
Or is he just like?
I think he
really
genuinely
care for it
believes
anymore?
that. I think he genuinely believes that. I just.
You're saying it's not job relevant?
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, he's not in a position. The position he's given, he's not going to be dealing with that, or it's nothing he's going to have to consider or think about. He's not going to have anything to say in terms of that stuff. Like Trump even made a joke. He at his victory speech, he said, "Oh, Kennedy, a great guy, the best. Yeah. I'm so glad to have you on my team." He's like, "And Kennedy, I want to let you loose on the health stuff. We need to get healthier as America. We need to make America healthy again. But Kennedy, I'm telling you right now, stay away from my oil. Stay away from the oil." He's like, "Let me handle the oil."
See, let him loose on the health stuff is what spooks me. What is that? That's too vague for me. And we'll get like genuine policy prescriptions once everybody's in office.
Yes,
but
yes.
Still, when I hear Trump telling one of his people to let loose, I'm not fond of that.
So now, where you're coming from, again, being libertarian, you generally just don't like restrictions and don't like.
It's really not that hard, people.
Just don't like telling people or organizations or corporations that they can't do something.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where you're coming from.
Pretty much.
Where I'm coming from is...
From the health standpoint.
Where I'm coming from is the fact that the majority of the bread in our country is such crap now. Most other first world countries don't even... It's not even bread. Like, they don't... The bread we buy off our shelves, it doesn't qualify to be considered bread in, like, Europe. Because
other governments have arbitrary definitions of what bread is?
No, because they have actually followed the science and actually have put, again, restrictions.
So
You're not gonna like that.
You mean the science, not the science.
You're not going to like that word, restrictions, yes. Okay. But they have actually put in restrictions where, like, you can't just sell poison. You can't just sell garbage. it has to like be real. It has to be decent. You can't just sell stuff that's been covered in cancer-causing chemicals, which is like the majority of our food. You know, you can't just fill our water with chemicals, which are linked to, you know, cancer and
That is a thing.
linked to hormonal issues, especially in, you know, preteen girls and boys. Like it goes so deep with the health stuff and how bad it is in our country that, like, in this, I'm more along the lines of you, where I don't like all the more restrictions being put in place and like what would seem like less freedom. I don't like that. But I think when it comes to things like our health and how I'm only okay with it in this sense because of how far we've gone to the bad side.
In the other direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, we're so far bad that we have to start doing something to change it so that it gets better.
No, that is a normal thought. It's just not my thing.
Yeah. You're sticking to your guns.
Yeah.
Because you want to have guns unrestricted.
That's another thing.
So,
I've written about gun rights before, too.
where at? Tell about it.
The one and only Ducati Report.
On Substack.
Not the Ducati Sales Monthly. No, not that.
So, I love the Kennedy pick. The whole, all the typical argument, and I talked about this recently on another episode with Kennedy, but all the recent stuff with, you know, all the talk you hear about him being a kook, like you even actually made a joke about it.
Yes. I'm not joking.
I think all that's unfounded and fake news.
We'll see.
So, and I will say, I don't think that he's a Christian, but I do genuinely, as of right now, believe him in that he really actually wants to do what's best for the country.
Okay. How about Doge?
So, Doge, what is that?
The Department of Government Efficiency is my understanding. Is that correct?
Yes. Which they're going to have a podcast soon.
All right.
Elon and Vivek said they're going to do a podcast together talking about...
That sounds like the most insufferable hour of my time ever.
So, it's, you know what's really funny? Just give people this disclaimer.
Okay.
The two of us, we generally very much agree on, like, conservative principles of life.
Yeah.
But if you actually get to the nitty-gritty of politics and, like, the view of certain individuals, we differ a lot.
Yeah.
One of the most in-your-face examples probably is our opinion of our individual thoughts on Ramaswamy.
Vivek.
Vivek.
I don't hate him. Like, I'm a nice guy. And
He's a
everything.
libertarian.
He's not.
He was.
Also, he's a Hindu, which, I mean, that's kind of another thing. But, like, why, dude?
I would say my biggest hang-up on him is that that he's a Hindu.
Okay.
But I will also say, I am on the opposite hand. I'm very glad that he's upfront and honest and in your face about it, as opposed to just kind of saying it and then not really ever wanting to talk about it.
And being super vague about it, which is another thing that people do.
Yeah. Weird. So
Trying to sabotage us.
Yeah. So Vivek, I'm more okay with him being an open Hindu than what most of the politicians are currently as fake Christians.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
I mean, I've kind of given up on, like, trying to vote for Christians anyway. So it's not incredibly relevant.
Which I think is...
But
I think that's understandable.
there's just not enough people out there at this point.
Yeah.
At least that are willing to run for office and make change in the world.
Yeah.
We gotta wait a while
So,
for me.
that being said, too, with Doge, it's
Ron Paul.
They contacted him.
There you go.
That's another department, which I'm sure you hate as a libertarian.
But it could be a good department.
But the hope is, I think, if I'm hearing this right. The hope is you add this department over here, but that department you add gets rid of a whole bunch of other ones.
Addition by subtraction.
Yes.
There you go. It's nice to see like all the fear mongering about how bad it's gonna be. These people are gonna lose their jobs and blah blah blah. Like, dude, you know how many fake jobs are in the government? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like lifelong type things.
Yeah, so
It bothers me the way people talk about that.
So it sounds like a good thing.
It's a good
idea
concept
of it
Yeah.
is a good thing.
It's
Now-
not. I'll say it's not a bad thing.
Now, do you believe that Elon and Vivek are the right people to run that, to get the job done?
No.
That was quick. Explain.
I would prefer someone who's been like more of a, I guess, a bastion of libertarianism, because this is like a fundamental part of it. So maybe someone like Ron Paul. I don't know, he's probably like 400 years old, but he's still kicking, you know? Like give me a, like have, you know, and I have comments about the National Libertarian Party and how it's like falling apart, but maybe get an actual libertarian representative, or as like put together an advisory board, say, hey, these people would perform this job at a high level and we could see real results, and more libertarians would vote for Republicans in the future. I mean, that's how you get votes. You got a coalition build.
Yeah.
That's like a long-term view also.
I know that at least just on Twitter, Elon has had interactions with Ron Paul. And Ron Paul has said, like, let's talk. So, I mean,
Let
yes,
the talking commence.
granted, Ron Paul, I think, is 89 or 90,
He's
something
getting
like
up
that.
there.
That doesn't help with the whole, like, getting younger
Yeah.
administration.
He's-
But,
Ron Paul's pretty young, like politician-wise, though. He's a spring chicken.
and he still has his head on his shoulders.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah, he's never mind.
He still does a show like almost every day.
Yeah. So, and his son Rand Paul he's decent.
If he ends up being the Senate Majority Leader, I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Is he libertarian enough for you?
I mean, he's definitely some semblance of libertarian.
Yeah.
Not necessarily my preference.
I get the feeling from him that he went Republican just because he felt like he had to be able to get in the position.
to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Ron Paul did. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, any closing thoughts?
Not really. I think we hit on almost all the notable picks. So,
Notable picks, relevant news, a little bit of what you've been writing about.
woo.
So, expect this moving forward. Don't necessarily expect the in-studio sit-down.
Yeah.
Because he's on the road. He's in the military. He doesn't actually live here anymore, but he happened to be here this weekend. That's why we're doing this in studio together. But expect at least a once a month episode of the Ducati Report, which will be at least Evan and I talking.
Yeah.
Maybe we might get Josh on here.
One day.
Maybe we'll get some of that.
Josh is the mystery character.
Yeah. So, Ducati Report, episode 1.
Wow.
In the books.
Humble beginnings.
Again, plug your your blog of articles.
There's a lot of articles. The blog is the Ducati Report. Same name, same guy, just on Substack.
Yeah, and you gotta change your picture on that.
I will one day.
Yeah.
I'll pay someone.
So that being said, again, go subscribe to his Substack, to the channel, True Strength Life podcasts, on all the platforms, on YouTube, and all that. And with that, truth is strength.